Today's active congregations are offering more and more activities that involve travel, taking members to sporting events, picnics, concerts, you name it, and that's wonderful. What's not so wonderful is the risk that some worship centers expose their members to on the road. I want to spend 15 minutes talking about ways to make transportation safer and more enjoyable for passengers, for drivers, for everybody. The first thing you have to do is choose a vehicle. Some organizations use cars, while others may need something larger. If you're buying, leasing, or renting a van, you should know that federal law specifies that any vehicle with a capacity of more than 10 people, including the driver, that's used to transport students in school-related activities has to meet federal motor vehicle safety standards for school buses. Your vehicle should comply with these standards. Also, some states prohibit the use of vans for any school activity. Now, if you're in one of these states, you should not use a van. Another thing you need to know is that the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration has issued a rare consumer advisory for 15-passenger vans. They're 3 times more likely to roll over when carrying 10 or more passengers and should always be driven by experienced drivers. Contact the NHTSA or Church Mutual Insurance for more information about this. If you are using rented or borrowed vehicles, always make sure your volunteer drivers have personal insurance and that your worship center has hired and non-owned automobile insurance. No matter what kind of vehicle you're using, one of the best things you can do to prevent an accident is to inspect the vehicle thoroughly before you begin a trip. Start by looking underneath for any fluid leaks or any hanging or loose parts. Check the tailpipe and exhaust system and make sure the exhaust pipe extends to the rear bumper or beyond the side of the vehicle. Check the tires to make sure they're properly inflated. Many large van accidents start with tire blowouts. And make sure you see plenty of tread. Try placing a penny into the lowest tread groove with Lincoln's head upside down like you're seeing here. If you can see the top of his head, it's definitely time to replace that tire. More accurate measurement can be made with a tread depth gauge available at many auto parts stores. Now check that wheel lugs are secure and that none are missing. Now let's check under the hood. Make sure there are no loose or cracked wires, hoses, or belts. Check your washer fluid, your oil, your transmission, your power steering fluid, the coolant level. And if everything's in order, it's time to start up. Now listen for unusual engine noises. And check your horn. And try all the switches. Your wipers, fans, defroster. Make sure the vents are clear. Check all the gauges and warning lights. That includes oil pressure, amp meter, temperature, and fuel. All right, now put the vehicle in gear while keeping your foot on the brake. Did it hold? Test your parking brake. That should hold as well. And if you can, have somebody stand outside and test the lights, the directionals, and the brake lights. Adjusting your side and rear view mirrors is very crucial to safe driving. Blind spots are very different in a van when compared to a car. So adjust your side view mirrors to see the side of the van at the edge of your mirrors. And adjust your rear view mirror to see as much as possible out of the back. If possible, carry a cell phone and a list of emergency phone numbers. They should include your local police, state police, ambulance, hospital, and pastor. And remember that cellular phones should never be used by a driver while operating any vehicle. You also need a first aid kit on board, along with emergency flares or warning signals and a fire extinguisher. And if all these things check out, you're ready for passengers. A startling number of accidents happen to passengers outside a vehicle while they're boarding or leaving. Here are some tips to pass on to riders to keep them out of the way of passing traffic. Walk on the left shoulder of the road if there is no sidewalk. Look carefully before crossing a street. Be aware of vehicles around you. Stay in a single file line. Never stand or play in the loading zone. Don't crowd or push. Go directly to your seat. Fill the van from front to back, leaving any open seats in the rear rows. Be careful not to overload luggage racks. When exiting, immediately move away from the vehicle. Your passengers have to know that they're as responsible for a safe trip as the driver is. So don't be shy about giving them a little speech before the trip. That speech should go something like this. Well, hello everybody.
Hi.
We're all gonna have a great time today, aren't we? And it'll be an even better time if you just do 3 things for me. First, make sure you have a seat belt and strap yourself in. And please stay in your seat while we're on the road. And then second, keep your head and hands inside the vehicle. Don't put them outside the window, and please don't open a window without asking first. And then third, please no shouting or yelling. Sure, you can talk and you can joke, but the driver does have things to listen for and needs to be able to hear those things. So thanks a lot. See, that wasn't so bad. Now let's get on the road. You're higher than most vehicles out here and have a better view ahead than they do. But that's probably your only advantage. The fact is, you're less maneuverable than most. It takes you longer to accelerate and to stop, and you can't react as quickly to unexpected conditions. That means you must allow for more following distance between you and other traffic than you would in a car. Of all the space around you, the space you're driving into is most important. One good rule says that under ideal driving conditions, you need at least 1 second for each 10 feet of vehicle length that speeds below 40 miles per hour. So if you're driving a 20-foot vehicle, you'd need 2 seconds. At greater speeds, you must add 1 second for safety. Let's say you're driving a 20-foot van at 50 miles per hour on a bright sunny day. You need 3 seconds of following distance. To know how much space there is between you and the vehicle ahead, wait until it passes a pavement marking or other clear landmark. Then count off the seconds until you reach the spot. 1001, 1002, 1003. Your vehicle is also more top-heavy than a car, so you must take turns at a slower rate than the posted speed limit. You also have larger blind spots, even with all your mirrors properly adjusted. 2 blind spots you must be constantly aware of are at the sides of your van. Cars on either side of you can't be seen unless you lean forward to look into your side view mirrors. You must also look to the side. Turn your head to make sure traffic is clear when you change lanes. Stay alert. Some things that can affect your reaction time are illness or fatigue, highway hypnosis, anger or preoccupied thoughts, and the effects of alcohol or medication. If you're on a longer trip, don't push it. Take regular rest stops. Have 2 qualified drivers on board.
Thanks for driving.
If you're driving a full-size bus, you face unique situations that drivers of smaller vehicles don't contend with. Bus drivers should follow these suggestions. Make sure you test the emergency door, the buzzers, and lights before starting on your trip. Pick up and drop off passengers in a way that doesn't require them to cross any streets. And transport authorized passengers only. And never transport more than the posted number of passengers. Keep children out of the back row of seats except when the bus is filled. And keep packages, coats, and other objects out of the aisle. And don't load equipment or suitcases on top of the bus in a way that makes the vehicle top-heavy. Never lock the emergency door when passengers are on board. And make sure you make smooth starts and stops. Keep doors closed when the bus is moving, except for crossing railroad tracks. Prohibit standing. Watch for clearances on bridges and overpasses. Because of the fire hazard, fill the fuel tank only when there are no passengers on board. And finally, never leave the bus unattended. No matter what time of year it is, you may find yourself in inclement weather, and suddenly you have to be extra careful. When your visibility is reduced, for whatever reason, turn on your headlights and clearance lamps. Use your low beams for fog or snow. Increase your following distance. Reduce your speed. If it gets too bad, don't risk it. Pull off and stop. If it rains, you'll be glad you checked your wipers. And remember, highways are most slippery just after rain starts to fall. Water can also build up under your tires and cause hydroplaning. You'll feel your vehicle drift if this happens. If you do, slow down, but avoid sudden braking or turning, which can cause a skid. If you have to brake, don't lock them. Apply them intermittently. If you have anti-lock brakes, follow your vehicle user's manual and maintain a steady pressure on the brake pedal. If you're facing ice or snow, accelerate gently. With a standard transmission, you should release your clutch slowly. If your wheels start spinning, ease up on the accelerator. Shifting to a higher gear may reduce wheel spinning. Use the engine and standard transmission as a brake. Downshifting is often more effective than brake application. If possible, stop in clear or sanded patches to improve your traction when you start out again. Remember, if you have trouble making a stop, other drivers will too. Consider this before letting passengers leave the vehicle or cross the road. Caution and common sense, those are your best guides. Even perfectly maintained vehicles break down, and when they do, it's up to you to handle the situation. First of all, turn on your emergency flashers. Raise the hood and tie a white handkerchief to the antenna. Keep everybody in the vehicle. And place traffic warning signals or flares at the traffic side of the vehicle, one about 10 feet from approaching traffic, one about 100 feet to the rear in the center of the lane you're occupying if you haven't made it to the shoulder, and one about 200 feet back, again in the center of the lane if you're still in a lane. Get back in the vehicle and use your cellular phone to call for help. Stay inside until help arrives. Now let's talk about something nobody wants to talk about: accidents. They happen, and you have to be prepared for them. It could be the most confusing and demanding situation you'll ever face. And facing it well means setting up emergency procedures before an accident happens and distributing them at organizational meetings and activities. Knowing exactly what to do before an accident means minutes saved, and saved minutes can mean saved lives. If there is an accident, the first thing you do is make anybody who has been injured as comfortable as possible. For example, cover them with a blanket to keep them warm or speak to them reassuringly, but don't move them. Don't try to administer first aid if you haven't been trained to do so, and don't leave them alone. Next, call for an ambulance and the police. Give your location as clearly as you can. Once help has arrived, get the names and telephone numbers of any witnesses and cooperate fully with police and fire department investigators. You'll be pretty upset yourself, so if an injured person's family has to be notified, call your pastor or another designated person and let them do it. As soon as it's practical, let your insurance representative know what's happened and give them the names of any witnesses as well. This will help you get the fastest, fairest settlement of medical and property claims.
I'm Mike Robin, president of Church Mutual Insurance Company. Many of the 50,000 lives that are lost in traffic accidents each year are the result of poor vehicle maintenance. So I urge you to establish a good maintenance program, one that includes regular brake and tire checks, semi-annual inspections by a qualified mechanic, and frequent spot checks of each vehicle by someone on your staff. The other thing that I would urge is that you assign your most capable drivers. Check their driving records and their physical condition. Make sure that they're over 21 and have experience driving the vehicle to be used. Activities away from your facilities can be some of the most rewarding and memorable that you offer. Keep them safe as well. Thank you.
Arriving safely. It makes all the preparation, all the checklists, and all the cautious driving worthwhile. If you check your vehicle before every trip, you drive defensively, and if you know how to respond to breakdowns or accidents, it can make your job a whole lot easier. Mine too.
Church Mutual Insurance Company offers brochures, videos, newsletters, posters, checklists, and more to help make your organization and activities safer for everyone involved. They are available to our customers at no cost. For a full list of materials, visit www.churchmutual.com.